Welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, and capital raisers in the world to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle so that you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and contribution. If what you're after is having it all, if what you desire is becoming the best version you can be across all areas, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, sentimentally, and financially, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best of the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, knowledge, experience, and skills so that you can go out and crush it financially and across all areas of your life. Grab pencil and paper, sit back, enjoy, and you are welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. Hello, morning kings and queens. Welcome to another episode of the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview the best, biggest, and most successful real estate investors in the world to provide you with the tool sets, mindsets, and skill sets for you to conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle so that you can achieve financial freedom. I'm super excited today because I have an incredible guest with me. I've been looking forward to this podcast episode. But before I actually introduce this modern king to you, I just want to ask all of you for a favor. I want to ask you that if you get something out of this interview, if you get some type of value and insight, if you learn a new skill, if you get a mindset shift, if you get some inspiration or maybe the motivation to go out and take some action and keep on moving forward towards your goals, I want to ask you to please share this episode, share with some of your friends, send it to someone who you think this might impact, someone who might be interested in real estate, and help us share our message and help other people. And for all of you who share, I say thank you. And today I have with me Sam Primm. Sam was born and raised in St. Louis. His mom was a teacher and his dad was an engineer. He had a very normal upbringing. Growing up, he played sports. He stayed out of trouble for the most part. And his plan was to follow the norm, right? Go to school, get a job, work until he was 65 and retired. But as soon as he discovered real estate investing, everything changed, right? So he's a husband, he's a father. His wife is Courtney. He has two beautiful daughters. And he has been able to create financial freedom and has accrued a massive wealth in a real estate portfolio of over $40 million. So he hasn't updated, so I guess it's more. In the past couple of years, all without using any of his money. So Sam runs quite a few successful real estate investing companies. First, fasterfreedom, which is an education company that teaches others how to invest in real estate. Then he has fasterhouse, which he flips over 250 homes every single year. Then he has greater STL Rentals, single family rental property management company, and Midwest Property, which manages apartment complexes. So when it comes to real estate, he's probably in it, right? And he's a husband, he's a father, he's an entrepreneur. He's what I call a modern king. So Sam, thank you very much for being here, man. I really appreciate you, and you are welcome to the show.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you having me and reaching out. I'm glad we got connected, and that was quite the introduction. So I appreciate that as well.
Awesome, man. So the first thing that I do with my guests, Sam, is I ask them to walk us through their, no, not entrepreneurial journey, that was the other podcast, through their real estate investing journey in 75 seconds or less.
Perfect. All right, let's go. Timer start. So my journey is something that I've grown more fond of the more I reflect on it. I don't have like a rags to riches story. I didn't, I didn't have to overcome a lot, but I also wasn't on the other spectrum of inheriting a lot of money. So I just grew up playing sports, being pretty active, being competitive, got a job out of college, was on that path, but I wasn't quite fulfilled. So I started investing in real estate on the side, 2014-15 timeframe, went full time into real estate in 2018, hit that financially freedom number in 2020, and then kind of been going gangbusters since then. So as you mentioned earlier, I have over $40 million in real estate. I bought that using my own money, house flipping company, some property management company. So I've kind of really gone all in, but it all started with just a normal upraising, normal, childhood, normal everything. And that is where the power is, in my opinion. Most people listening to this are probably normal, like me, like you. So the fact that normal people can do, extraordinary things is pretty exciting to me. So that's probably hit that in about a minute. So a little short. So I even left some time for you to fill in a little bit.
Awesome, man. Actually, I like that, right? Because on your Instagram, you have normal dude creating massive wealth, right? That's really inspiring, right? To know that someone who considers themselves a normal guy or a normal, woman can create massive wealth. So you had a job and you started investing in real estate in 2015. So what made you want to invest in real estate? Did you have free time, or like what was it that drove you to want to start?
Yeah, so me and my business partner Lucas, who owns everything with me 50-50, we had been friends growing up, playing sports together, and we had a couple businesses in college, painting exteriors of houses and things like that. So we had a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit. It was fun. And he went into the engineering field, I went in the sales field, and he hated his job. So he graduated in 2012 from college. A couple years in, he was just dying, hating being at the office all day, every day. He wanted to be, and I enjoyed my job okay, but it just wasn't fulfilling that competitive drive. I wasn't, having a ceiling of how much money I could make or things I could do. It just wasn't. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't fulfilled. Let's say. So we thought, let's just start investing in real estate. We read Rich Dad Poor Dad. He was looking to get out of his job. I was just looking to supplement some income. We didn't know where it was going to go. Our goal was one rental house a year for 10 years. So we didn't have these crazy goals at first. It was just to kind of see what it was like. So that was kind of more or less the reason. It wasn't anything crazy. We didn't know it was going to turn into what it turned into. It was just a path for him to quit his job and some supplemental income for me while we had a little bit of free time before we had started having kids and had families.
So cool. All right. So yeah. So I'm starting to see how, right, how it's a pretty normal dude story that created wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So then in 2018, you mentioned you had. So what happened in 2018?
So 2018 went full time. So from 2014, 15 to 2018, it was a side hustle. So we were spending, 10 hours a week on it, going there on weekends, working on houses, just in our free time. And he was starting to spend more and more time outside of work. He was taking 2 hour lunches and 3 hour lunches, going looking at properties and doing things. And I was traveling a little bit at the time. So it was just becoming more and more prevalent. This is what we wanted to do. We were willing to take that risk and bet on ourselves. We didn't know exactly when, but it just had kind of become apparent that we can do this, and imagine devoting 60 hours a week each rather than 10 hours a week each where we can take this. So in 2018, we both quit our jobs and went all in and started flipping and wholesaling more for our active income and really scaling our rental portfolio for the passive income. And that's what we did, like I said, for a couple of years from 18 to 2020. And then in 2020 is about when we had the passive income streams up enough where we were financially free. And financial freedom to me is, at the beginning of every month, you have more passive income coming in than your normal expenses. Now, obviously, if you go buy a beach house or anything crazy, that expenses go up. But in general, your income passively is gonna meet your needs. So that's what happened in 2020. And once you get to that point, your like mindset kind of shifts, and then it's just like almost playing with house money. Let's go. Let's take big swings. And fortunately, we've been able to connect on a few and do some pretty cool stuff.
So man, so tell me, how does your mindset shift when you have more money coming in than your expenses, and that's money that you don't have to work for anymore? How does your mindset shift? How does it feel?
Yeah, so it's looking back, it's not like one of those things where like I woke up, I was like, all right, we're good. I'm gonna go just throw all this money on black at the casino because I got my needs met every single month. But it's just kind of one of those things where the more you understand that the level of equity you have in your rental portfolios, that you're a truly a multimillionaire, and that you have money coming in every month and can live your life just from really not doing anything. You either go one of two ways. You either just kick it on the beach and relax, or you double down and go all in, take bigger swings, bigger chances, try to do more and see the power of compounding and doing things and building businesses and growing and hiring the right people and being able to pay to do certain things that you don't want to do so that you can go do more things that you do want to do. So that kind of thing. It's kind of in reality, it's a longer process. It doesn't happen overnight, but starting to see those shifts and starting to understand the power of growing and scaling and not playing with house money, but that was kind of almost how it feels, right? Like you're making this much money every month, your expenses are this much, but that, or your expenses are this much and you're making this much every month. You're set. So you have a lot to play with. I'm not just going to go buy stupid crap, right? I'm going to, start other businesses or grow or pay to be around other successful people. So it's just kind of one of those things where it truly compounds and compounds and compounds and compounds until eventually it becomes a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. And you now have time, and you have energy, and you have money, and you have like the thinking power. Right now, you can like think outside of just seeing what it is that you need to do to fulfill your needs. So there's two routes that you can go. You can like go and chill at the beach, or you can go like all in and go bigger and do better things and bigger things and more purposeful things and things that have greater impact. So what did you decide to do?
Yeah, so I think I made the decision that most people make when they get to that point. They go all in because at some point it's not about the money. It's exactly the word you use. It's about impact. I used to say I want to create generational wealth. Now it's I want to create generational impact through companies, through charities. We have a nonprofit that we started through, helping other people, through building a team and creating wealth for them, lending money to people on our team to buy rentals and things like that. So creating more of an impact and the thing about that is most people say they want to make enough money to retire and go sit on the beach, in 5 years. But the people that have that attitude usually never get to that point. Does that kind of make
Yeah.
sense? Like if your whole goal is to just sit on the beach and do nothing, you're probably not going to get there. But if your whole goal is to grow wealth and create impact and do more with your life and create impact that lasts generations, then you get to that point and that's just what you do is you create more. So the whole vision of just sitting on the beach doing nothing, is not really that common for people that I know that are financially free in my situation or a million times more than I have, created more businesses and more wealth than I ever have or ever will. Those people are working still. I
Yeah.
don't compare myself to Elon Musk by any means, but he says he works 75 hours a week. He's the wealthiest man in the world. At some point, it's not about making money. Everybody says, why am I on TikTok? Why am I on YouTube? Why am I on Instagram if I'm really making all this money? It's because I want to be there. You know what I mean? It's not one of those
It's
things
about the
where
game.
it's not, just I'm not just going to sit on the beach and do nothing. I would not enjoy that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And before we click record, you mentioned and you like, congratulated me a little bit of from but because of having that like foundation of belief, that foundation of like purpose that drives you, right? So I'm 22, so I'm pretty young, and I still have a long way to go. And honestly, man, I feel pretty successful, right, across all areas of my life. And all of that success has become by focusing on impact. Like, like I found my purpose for some reason, or at least what I believe to be my purpose, and I just committed to it, right? I just like believe in it from the bottom of my heart, and I have it in my mind every single day. That's what I think of. Everything that I do is in direction to that purpose, to keep on pushing that purpose forward. And at first it was slow, right? And it was a lot of work, and there wasn't that many results, but I just had a purpose, right? And then all of a sudden everything just clicked, aligned, and I'm getting opportunities that I never thought I would get, right? And it all came from focusing on what I believed I needed to focus on, right? On that purpose that really drove me. And I have like this endless motivation, right? Energy. And I just work because I like to work, man, not because of anything else, right? It's the love for the game. And I'm probably going to be doing this for like the next rest of my life. And you're right, people whose goal is to go to the beach and chill after they've made a certain amount of money probably won't get there, right? So even if I had all the money in the world, I would still be pursuing this purpose and pushing it forward. So that's something that I just wanted to mention. And generational impact. So you went from creating generational wealth to now wanting to create generational impact. And what do you think is the key, to being able to go from a self-centered, right? And it's not bad to be self-centered, right? In an egotistical, having an egotistical focus, right? It's not bad. But like, what do you think it made the shift in you and made you expand your consciousness and made you want to go from creating generational wealth for you and your family to creating generational impact for others? Can you pinpoint it to something or no?
Yeah, I don't know if I can pinpoint it to something exactly. It's kind of one of those things. I think it's like I think they're the Maslow's hierarchy. The top is you need your initial needs met, and then as you work your way up, it's kind of about you, and then it becomes about other people. So once your needs are met and you feel secure in yourself financially, you feel secure in yourself as a person, then I think it just naturally most people are good. They want to help other people. That's why so many athletes and people that do really well have charities and nonprofits and things like that. It just comes from wanting to help others and just impact the world. And then it comes from a vanity standpoint as well, honestly, if you want to be honest with it. If you're creating that impact and creating a charity and helping people. You want your name to be known as that charity. You want your name to be out there. Now, our charity is called Greater Giving. It's not named after me or anything, but there it's kind of cool being able to impact people and do things, and you be known as the person to do that. So it's kind of one of those things where there's some vanity there as well, but the root of it is helping other people. And my goal is to own an NBA team now, so that would mean a lot of wealth and impact has been created. So it's just as you start to level up and around other people that are leveling up, you just through osmosis, through connections, through actual like partnerships, and just through conversation, you just level yourself up.
Yeah, man. Something really quick. Talking about wanting to own an NBA team. I've never had like a materialistic goal, right? Yeah, for sure, like financial targets and a certain amount of money that I wanted to make. But I never, it wasn't like, oh, I wanted to make this much amount of money to go and buy a motorcycle. It wasn't like that. But I recently, I recently have some friends who have like really cool motorcycles, and I've been using it with them, and it just like pumped me up, right? Like the idea of having a motorcycle, and then it pumped me up, and then I got into a helicopter, and then the idea of having a helicopter pumped me up. So now I'm like leveraging that, right? So I'm mixing my purposeful goals and mission, right, with materialistic goals, right? Because every time I think about getting it on that motorcycle and just like going, right, it pumps me up, and it's a cool like hack, right, to give me a little motivation, and remember that, oh, when I get to this level, right, I'm gonna be able to have this. So pretty cool thing. Yeah, it definitely fills you up a little bit. But man, one thing that I want to talk about is that all of the real estate that you bought, that you've invested in, has been bought with any of your own money, right? Can you talk
Mhm.
to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that's a big misconception with real estate, and that's kind of how society pushes people to be scared of debt. Only pay cash for things, and that's kind of how we're taught growing up. When in reality, that's not how the business world works. That's not how the world works. So, in general, Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook. He didn't pay cash for everything. He had angel investors, bank investors that gave him money to hire more staff, to create more code, to creatively create things, and that created more ad revenue. Then he took the ad revenue and paid off the banks. You know, Musk started or didn't start Tesla, but he grew Tesla by borrowing money. He didn't pay 44 billion dollars for Twitter. He borrowed money from people. He borrowed money from his stocks, and he got Bank of America involved, and he used other people's money to buy something, and then the revenue that something created, he paid other people off with. So it's properly leveraging debt, and it's how the entire world is ran. People don't pay cash for things, or wealthy people don't pay cash for things. They use other people's money, and they leverage other people's money to grow. And that's just a general concept. It's a fact. You look at all businesses, most businesses start and grow that way. I am not as smart as Zuckerberg or Musk or Bezos, who did the same thing with Amazon, but I am smart enough to do it with a house. So that's what I did. I leveraged money and borrowed money to buy a house, and then I took what that house, the income the house produced, and paid off where I borrowed the money from. It's kind of like a little triangle. And in doing that, I own the house. I get the cash flow from the house, and I can do it, as many times as I want, because it's not based on my income; it's based on the property. So, not to get too technical, which we can, but basically, you're borrowing money to buy an asset that produces cash, and you take the cash that asset produces, and you pay off who you borrow the money from. And then at the end of the day, you own that asset. And assets are what create wealth and equity, whether it's assets in a business or assets in real estate. That's where the real wealth is created. Because unfortunately, none of us usually, most of us don't come from enough money to put 20% down on enough rentals to create actual wealth. It's just the math doesn't add up. One plus one doesn't equal two as far as needing cash to buy real estate.
Cool, man. So, and for any of you listening who are probably thinking, oh, I'm not as smart as Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk either, right? But you may be smart enough, right? Like any normal dude out there may be smart enough to, borrow money, use other people's money to buy an asset, right? To buy a house that then you can use to pay out like the money that you borrow. So, and you're right, man. We weren't taught that, right? We were taught
Mm-mm.
that that is bad, right? And that we shouldn't borrow money, and that we should just like save money, right? So can you tell me a little bit about the faulty thinking in that? The fault in that?
Yeah, so the fault in that is if you want to, if you don't make enough money to, like, so most people, let's say you make 75 grand a year and you save and you live frugally. So you have, after taxes, you bring home 60 grand. And then after your mortgages and expense, you're able to invest 10 grand a year. That's pretty good. How long is it going to take you to get millions and millions of dollars if you can only save 10 grand a year? Like I said, that math just doesn't add up. But if you're to borrow other people's money and leverage debt, which is not taxed, to buy assets, then it's just almost like it's not like a shortcut, but it kind of is. It's just a way to skirt around the potential to need cash, because banks don't care about your cash. If you put 20% down on a rental property or you ask for an 80% loan, they don't care. They don't worry about your cash. They just want to loan you 80% of the property's worth. So you can either take that 80% loan by giving them 20% cash, or you can get that 80% loan by bringing them a discounted property and there's 20% equity in there. So it's getting a little more technical with it, but basically it's just a way to not have to come up with the cash. You don't have to have the cash, and most people simply don't have the cash. So what are you just going to work? Just suck it up and work for 50 years? Or are you going to get creative and grind and hustle and get uncomfortable and take chances and invest in real estate, which has created 90% of millionaires, and grind for 5 so you can enjoy the next 45, or you can just work for somebody else for 50. So it's one of those things where at some point people got to understand that they have the choice, they have an option. It's not easy, but it's pretty simple. There's a difference between simple and easy. I know I'm throwing around some terms that may be a little over some people's heads. I promise every single person listening to this is smarter than I am. It just takes time to get comfortable with concepts. And this is me talking after doing it for 8 years. I would not have been able to talk at this confidence level, right when I started. So everybody starts in the same spot, which is 0. So just don't get discouraged if you're thinking that you can't do this, because I promise you that you can.
Cool, man. I like that encouragement. And so one way to leverage other people's money is with a bank, right? What other ways are there to be able to leverage other people's money and not have to use your own?
Yeah, so the method that I use, that a lot of people use, it's been around a long time. It's nothing new. It's called the BRRRR method. It stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and scale. So what you do, and I'll just do it quickly and try to keep it pretty high level, but you borrow money from a private lender, let's say, to buy a property and to repair that property, the B and the R. So you buy a property for 100,000 that needs $50,000 in repairs. So you're buying a distressed asset. So you borrow 150 grand to buy it and fix it up. So you owe that private lender $150,000 plus interest. The next step is you get the property rented. You get it to produce income. You get it to be an income producing asset. Then you take that income producing asset to a small local bank, and they will literally give you a brand new loan that will cut you a check for 80% of that appraised value. Remember, I said they want that 20% equity. So that property you bought at a discount and created equity by rehabbing, appraised for 200 grand. So the bank will literally cut you a check for 80% of that, which is 160 grand. You take that 160 grand and you pay back your private lender plus interest. Now you do owe the bank 160 grand, but you got the property rented, and that rent is enough to cover the mortgage plus all owning expenses. So then you're able to own that house, cash flow positively, have all your expenses paid, and then scale and do it more. So you basically use a bank to pay back a private lender and use rent to pay back the bank. So you're just moving other people's money around
Nice.
and providing a service, and then you're able to do it as many times as you want. Like, people, there's no limits to do it. I'm in $25 million worth of debt doing that, but I also own $42 million worth of real estate. So people say, oh my
Cool.
gosh, you're in $25 million worth of debt, but I wouldn't have $17 million in equity had I not got into that debt. So you got to look at you're going to look at the debt side, you got to look at the asset side and the cash flow side. You can't just look at the glass half empty all the time.
Cool, man. That sounds like fun, right? So, from listening to you, it seems like two very important things that, someone who thinks about getting started using the burst method is the private lenders, right? Finding the private lenders, finding someone who's going to give you the money to buy the distressed house or distressed property, and then finding the distressed property. So, can you tell me, like, what is a private lender? Like, who or what could be a private lender that you could get money from?
Yeah, for sure. So there's basically three money sources that you're going to utilize, that I've utilized to, buy 40 million real estate. The first money source is private lenders. They're the best to work with. They're not a rich aunt, not a rich uncle. usually they can be, or a rich parent. They're usually just a working professional that's in their 40s or 50s that has made enough money and wants to self-direct their IRA or their 401k, borrow against, or pull some money out of the stock market because it's kind of up and down. And they just have 50, 75, 100 grand that they're willing to lend you, and you back it with the real estate asset you're buying, and they want to make a 10, 12% return. So they just want to invest. They know you, or they have a connection of you from somebody else. And you'll find these people from talking to other people. They're pretty common to find. It's just you got to know where to look, and you got to talk about real estate. So that's the first the one, and they're a little bit harder to find. It might take you a couple months or a little bit longer. But there's also hard money lenders, which do the exact same thing, but they're businesses, and their whole goal is to lend money on distressed assets because banks won't do that. So they will lend you the money to buy and potentially fix up the property, and that's what they do. They're in business. Just Google hard money lenders near me. A ton will pop up wherever you're at. Talk to other real estate investors in your area. They'll tell you the best ones to use. There's national hard money lenders. So this is a space that's very common, but if you're not in the industry, you might not know about it. And then small local banks, they do your long-term funding. They stay in business by lending on real estate. That's how they make money. Not Bank of America and all those other big banks. They don't want anything to do with this, but these small local banks. So if you spend some time, energy, and effort finding those three funding sources over the next 6 months, you should probably have a good foundation to build and grow and buy rentals. And the funny thing is, one private lender tells their friend, so that they all kind of organically grow as you just get one under your belt. So those are kind of the three money sources to focus on that do take some time and energy, but they're out there. And with rolling up your sleeves a little bit, you'll be able to find them.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for all the insights. Anyone listening, right? Sam already dropped some insights that you can start implementing right now, so that in the next 3 to 6 months you can have a foundation to start from of private lenders, people that you can go and borrow money from. So what about the other side, right? Which is actually finding the property. How would you do that?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that you're just buying assets that are, or houses that are, livable in retail condition, and that's not the case. Most houses that you see that agents list and things like that are livable. That's not what this is. In order to do this, you have to find those diamonds in the rough, or those roughs in the diamond, however you look at it. You have to find those distressed properties, and there's a ton of different ways to do it. But if you're brand new to real estate and you don't want to spend any money on marketing to find these properties, I would suggest just networking. You talked earlier about networking before we went live, and that's the same thing here. So network with wholesalers. This is what wholesalers do. They cold call, they send direct mail, they knock on doors, they find these distressed houses. That's what they do. They're salesmen, they're saleswomen, they're hunters. They go find these distressed assets, and then they mark them up and sell them at a discount still to real estate investors. So get to know your local wholesalers. They go to your local meetups. Those little bandit signs on the side of the road that says "We buy houses, we buy ugly houses." Those are all wholesalers. Very few of those ever close on a property. So connect with local wholesalers, connect with local real estate agents. If a good agent's going to transact on 15 to 20 houses a year, all of them but one or two are good houses that they don't want anything to do with for you, and you don't want anything to do with for them. But if you we're good. But if you contact them every once in a while, they're going to come across a distressed asset, a hoarder house, somebody that needs to sell a house that won't pass occupancy, that won't pass any inspections, that hasn't been updated in 60 years. It's going to be a pain in the ass for them to sell. They'll contact you, and you'll give them a fair cash offer. So again, these things take time, but you can do that. Network with wholesalers or real estate agents, or you can send out direct mail to distress houses, or you can do Facebook ads, or you can create a website. There's a ton of different ways to find these distressed assets. You just got to pick a couple and kind of go at it.
Cool. And one that wouldn't require money, right? Wouldn't require for you to invest any money, but you could, you do need to invest time and effort, would be networking, right? So networking to wholesalers, real estate agents, and then you mentioned another one. What was it?
Wholesalers and real estate agents are your main ones, and the other thing is you can pay for a little bit of marketing spend, but those are going to be your two main sources. I mean, you can go in like we do. We talk to elder law attorneys. We talk to mold remediators. Somebody that's remediating a house that's got crazy mold in it that they come across it can't be lived in, and the person's selling it, or it was been abandoned and they're getting rid of the mold. Like, you just need to get around people that are around houses all the time. So there's endless sources, but just kind of focus on the few is important at first.
Cool. Awesome, man. So there you go. That's literally like, if someone gets started with those two things, right? Like doing the work that you just mentioned to find people that could lend them money, and then doing the work that you just mentioned, that we talked about, to find the properties that they could get started. But obviously, it's hard, and it causes a little bit of uncertainty, maybe fear as well, anxiety to do it by yourself, right? And yeah, you could listen to this podcast and decide to go and take action, and you probably get some results. But it'll take time, it'll take a lot of effort. You'll feel uncertain at times. You'll maybe fear will start to creep in, anxiety. So I don't recommend to do it, right? I recommend to actually go with someone that can teach you, go with someone that has done it, um, and then just learn from them and copy everything that they do. And instead of you having to learn by trial and error, just get them to teach you. So you teach people. So what are some resources, man, that you would recommend for people to get a hold of, to learn more about how you can use the birds method, how you could find those private lenders to raise money, how you could find those distressed properties that they can invest in. So where should people go in order to get more information about how to get started in that? And they want some guidance. They don't want to do it by themselves.
Yeah, no, great points. I think just in general, yeah, the most successful people I know all pay for some type of help, whether it's a professional athlete. Tom Brady, best quarterback ever. He's got like a nutritionist, he's got a head coach, an offensive coordinator, he's got an arm strength coach, he's got like a strength and conditioning coach. He has like 10 coaches. So thinking that you can do this by yourself is naive and a little vain, honestly. Like you can, but it's going to be extremely hard and taxing and take time out of your way. So paying a little bit of money for somebody to show you the most efficient groove path is what all successful people do. I spend over $100,000 a year to be around high level people because I understand the value in that. So I would suggest getting in some type of coaching program. It definitely does not have to be mine. It can be. I feel like I have the best one out there, but you need to lean on somebody else's knowledge. You need somebody to guide you and keep you out of the gutters and keep you in the lane. That's just the efficient way to do it. That's the less stressful way to do it. That's the way to get there for sure, probably, and a lot sooner. So if you would like to learn anything about my mentorship program, just shoot me a message on Instagram at Sam Fasterfreedom. Is where I'm on social media, is fasterfreedom.com. Just check out my stuff. I would suggest you checking out my social media first, making sure you kind of vibe with what I'm teaching, how I'm teaching it, and then maybe contacting me. I definitely don't want people that aren't going to take action and that aren't excited about learning things with integrity and do things the right way like I like to do them. So we turn down students every once in a while. They kind of want to take the shortcut. So make sure you kind of vibe with how I do things, and then if you do and you really take action, I would love to help you.
Awesome, man. And then you mentioned a little bit about surrounding yourself with high level people. One of the ways that you can do that is with podcasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm part of a mastermind, so I invest a little bit of money as well every single year to be part of those successful people that will bring me up. But when I had didn't have the chance to like invest in me that way and invest 30K in a mastermind, I would listen to podcasts, right? And then I started mine, and after interviewing over 200 super successful entrepreneurs, right, it changed me. Right, it's like I wasn't the same person that I was before starting to surround myself with those people and talking to them, and it changed me, right? And the biggest shift that I had was how I saw myself, right? Because I was able to realize that those people that I had been interviewing that were super successful across all areas of their lives, and more importantly financially, didn't have anything special, right? And then they didn't have anything that I didn't have myself as well. So that was one of the major shifts, and I started surrounding myself with those types of people with podcasts by listening to them and by hosting them. So I know that you have a podcast called Faster Freedom Show. So tell me, what is that about, man? And what is it that you do with your show?
Yeah, so yeah, it's the Fast Freedom Show. So it's me and my business partner Lucas. So I kind of run this education deal and kind of the brand on social media, and it's kind of my face on everything. And Lucas kind of runs everything in the background. But this podcast is a chance for us to get together and we just chat and cut it up. And we've been friends for 25 years, and we have almost 40 team members now, employees now. Most of them are our friends, and Luke's and I just have fun, and we kind of make fun of each other, chop it up a little bit, but we like to give, really tangible advice. We'll go over sample deals we're talking about. We'll talk about how to cash flow in today's high interest rate market, or, we'll try to bring certain things that we're doing in our businesses into the podcast. So it's done pretty well. I think we're about 65 episodes in. We're getting 15, 20,000 downloads a month. So it's doing pretty well. And it's just us talking, and most people enjoy the banter between us more than the actual knowledge. But basically, it's just talking about what we're doing actively in the industry, in the business, to create financial freedom, to create wealth, to be entrepreneurs, the struggles, the good, the bad, the ugly, all out there for you to take part in, and kind of be on the journey with us. So it's a lot of fun. It's my favorite content that I put out. I think it's the best content I put out, but obviously, podcasts take a little bit a different level of commitment as opposed to just watching a 10-second TikTok in between booty shaking TikToks, if you know. So
Yeah, definitely, man. So, man, there's something that I really, well, not dying, but I really, really want to ask you, right? So, which is, how do you manage 5 businesses, man?
So I and this is what I was talking about. When you get to that certain level, like you can start to make decisions to hire things out. Like my $42 million rental portfolio, our property management business that manages that. So we own the property management company that manages our properties that we own. I haven't been to a meeting in a year for that company. I go to the quarterly update meetings that we have to kind of learn what's going on, but I trust the person running that we pay well to do that. So I could cash flow more and spend my time doing that, or I could pay somebody 100 grand to run that company for me and run it well and run it the right way and get quarterly updates. Similarly with the flipping company, 300 houses that we flip a year, I couldn't tell you one address. Lucas runs that. I run the education. So I have all these businesses, but my focus is on the brand and the education for the most part. Just hiring the right people, getting the right people on the bus that you trust, giving them autonomy, having the right culture, and setting the right expectations is just, if you're not looking to do everything yourself and save money, if you're willing to hire out and reduce cash flow to increase your time to do what you want, that's what we've settled on. And I think a lot of that shift happened, it kind of like I said, that when that financial freedom number was hit.
That's a crazy mind shift to have, right? Like to realize or know that you could literally own a company that you don't run, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
hire someone that can run your company. That's a crazy mind shift to have, man. So who taught you that, right? Because I've just learned that. So I, through networking, like everything good in my life has come from focusing on my purpose, right? And by focusing on my purpose, I was able to come across networking, and then but through networking, I was able to connect with the people who had the opportunities that would help me achieve my goals. And I'm in a company, as part of my mission to build modern kings and queens. I needed 2 frameworks: a framework to build men and a framework to build businesses. And I connected with someone and landed in this company who has an entire framework to build businesses, right? And I just started to learn about this concept that I just asked you about. And I literally have my company structured, right? Like the CEO, the operations departments, finance departments, sales departments, marketing departments, HR departments. And I literally have like my job profile for the CEO. So, pretty soon I'll hire a CEO to run my company. And it's a crazy shift to have, man. So how did you learn about that you could do that? And then what do you think it takes to actually let go and hire someone to run your company?
Yeah, I think it happens organically over time. It's one of those things where Luke and I were doing so much, pulling our hair out, and then all right, we hired somebody to take something off our plates, and we're growth oriented, so we're always going to grow. And then all 3 of us were working so hard, pulling our hairs out, so we hired somebody to take stuff off of all of our plates. So kind of organically grew that way. But when we got technical with it and focused and structured with it and systemized with it, is reading books, and we have a meeting every Monday at 8 a.m. with all of our COOs that run all of our companies. And like we read books, and it's like a book club. The first 10 minutes of the meeting, we talk about the chapter of the book, what we got out of it, and we all kind of learn from it, and they're business oriented books. And then we get on with the meeting. So things like that, books have been, very, very powerful. Like the biggest one for us as far as how we set our systems up was Traction by Gino Wickman. It's basically an entrepreneur system to set up to go from your big long-term goal to a 3-year target to a 1-year goal to a quarterly rocks to week to monthly goals to weekly to-dos to daily tasks. So it just breaks everything down, sets it up and structures it for you. And then in that, you have systems where you have, similar to what you said, you have a visionary, which is a CEO, you have an integrator, which is a COO, and then you have, your sales and marketing, your operations, and your finance. And that's how we set up all of our businesses. And Luke's and I usually sit in the visionary role. We have COOs in our companies that run them for us. And eventually we'll probably get out of those visionary roles and continue to grow because, people that have all this massive wealth and all these companies, they're not running the day to day. They have the right people in the right seats, and they're just, just doing
Yeah.
their best to stay out of the talented people's way.
Cool. And so actually, a book that I read was Rocket Fuel, right? And then also Traction. But I read it after I started implementing it. So like I read it after I started to live it, and I was like, holy shit! Like I understood where this was coming from. But who did you say was the author? I don't remember the author. Who
His
was
name's
it?
Gino Wickman. Yeah, he wrote both those books, Traction, Rocket Fuel, and Get a
Rocket
Grip. I
Fuel.
think are his 3 ones. The general same concept. Yep.
Cool. So any of you out there, who want to start growing your company, you're gonna need help. You're gonna need other people. And if you want to do it, if you want to learn how to do it in an orderly, systemized, and practical way that actually works, go and put your hands on some of those books, right? And if you're in real estate, go and check out some of Sam's stuff because he's implementing that, and he probably teaches how you can implement that in real estate. So that's a great resource to have. So Sam, we have a couple of minutes, man. I really enjoyed this, and I end my every podcast episode with a couple of questions. So let me get them out. And actually, and the first one is, knowing what you know now, man, what piece of advice would you give yourself at the beginning of your real estate investing journey to help yourself have faster, easier, and smoother success?
I would tell myself the same thing that every single successful entrepreneur I know tells themselves, and that's two things. I wish I would have started earlier, and I wish I would have paid for help earlier. I was in the mindset that I can do this on my own. I'm not going to pay somebody 2 grand, 5, 10 grand, 10 grand to do something I can do myself. When in reality, the minute I started doing that, I got more efficient. I had more equity in my deals. I was able to make 10, 20, 30, 40 times the investment by being efficient and doing it the right way. So I wish I would have got over my pride and vanity and paid for help earlier.
Cool. I really like that. Awesome, man. Thanks. The next question is, let's see. What is a false belief that you had and that you see, most real estate beginners have that holds them back and that maybe held you back as well?
I think the biggest thing, and so I'll try to take this a little bit of a direction. So the falsities that a lot of people have is that real estate investing is risky. Like there's risk involved. You're owning an asset. You have a tenant that could ruin the property, and they think that owning real estate, the asset that creates 90% of millionaires in this country, meaning crypto, forex, starting your own business, the stock market, 401ks, IRAs, all of that stuff makes up 10% of millionaires, 90% through real estate. So thinking that real estate's risky and thinking that you're not just a number on a spreadsheet to your employer and you're going to let some boardroom of old crusty men make a decision based on the company's future that could affect your job, thinking that your employer is has your best interest in heart always, and thinking that you take control of your future and investing in real estate is more risky, that is just like the exact opposite. And I think, and I
Yeah.
kind of had that at first, and people realizing that they are just a number on a spreadsheet. I don't care how many times you've had tequila with your boss after work. You're a number on a spreadsheet because your boss's boss is going to bring the hammer down on them and they're going to blame somebody else. So there's risk involved in everything, but taking the wealth wheel that doesn't need to be reinvented, which is real estate, and betting on yourselves, a much less risky bet. So I kind of spun it a little bit, but generally I think I kind of answered it.
Yeah, that's actually a great insight, man. One thing that I really like to say is that, well, that another observation is that most people prefer the certainty, right, of staying at a job that they hate than the uncertainty of going for whatever it is that they think will make them happy or will make them money or will make them fulfilled, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, and like if you think about it, man, it's all an illusion. Like yeah, there's practical things that you need to know how to do, and you know, when you're investing in real estate, but like it's just fear that holds people back, and it's just an illusion of, oh, I can't do it, right? Like a lot of people say they can't do things that they clearly can, but are just not willing to, right? And it's just an illusion to think that you can't, and it's just fear. And you gotta let go of the certainty that your job costs that makes you feel, because there's really no certainty, right? Like you're just a number in a spreadsheet, and there's risk involved in that. And go for the uncertainty that you feel when you think about starting a business or going into real estate. And because you could probably make it, and there's probably less risk than being on a job for the next 50 years and dying unfulfilled and broke, right? So yeah, that's a great one. Man, the next question is, what is something that, like, a positive belief that you should have to be successful in real estate?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in being successful in the real estate is just making connections and making connections with your local community. And not that you can do it on your own. I'm not talking about paying for help. I'm talking about joining your local meetups, your local Facebook groups, contacting, connecting with people, because the real estate investing industry is not really that big. You can meet everybody,
Yeah,
everybody you need to meet within a few months. So connecting with your local community, I think, is a big thing that people need to embrace if they want to be successful.
cool. So connecting, networking. Actually, my next question is, building relationships and networking is key to be successful in the real estate investing game. Raising capital, finding deals, and all that. So, what networking strategy or advice would you give on that?
Yeah, so a couple like tactical things. First is, meetup.com, eventbrite.com. Every single city that has a decent population, I'm talking a couple 100,000 or more, has a local meetup. So meetup.com or eventbrite.com. Every single city has, a real estate investing Facebook group. So join the Facebook group and ask where the local meetups are, and then just connect with those people and get to know other real estate investors. So tactically, that's how to do it. But the reason it's so powerful is because everybody's nervous. Everybody is a little fearful at first. But if you're going to a local meetup, you're getting in your car, you're taking time out of your evening, you're driving, you're getting out of your comfort zone. Those are the type of people you want to be around that are willing to get outside that comfort zone. So tactically, it makes sense. But mindset wise, and beyond that, it makes sense because you're around other people that are willing to go out and at least meet other people. Not everybody's investing that goes, they all want to, but in general, you're leveling up because you're not just behind a keyboard or listening to a great podcast like this or watching a YouTube video. You're actually go out and doing it. So you're going to be around other doers, and that naturally, like we talked about earlier, through osmosis is just going to, kind of feed into you.
Cool. Yeah, the investment is greater, right? And when you pay attention. So yeah, it makes sense. I like that. So man, we're at the end of the show. I really enjoyed it. Hope that you've enjoyed it as well. And I believe that everyone who's listening to this got a lot of value. And if they want to learn more about you, where would be like one of the best places for them to find more of you, more of your stuff, or just to find you in general?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much on all social media platforms. It's at Sam Faster Freedom. The brand's Faster Freedom, and my name is Sam. So at Sam Faster Freedom. So whatever social media you're on, just I'd appreciate following and interacting. If you're not on Twitter, then don't worry about following me on Twitter. Just whatever platforms you're active on is fine. And then the YouTube is where you get the longer form edited 5, 10, 20-minute videos that I can teach and dig in at Sam Faster Freedom. And then the podcast, obviously that's longer form type content. And then, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I answer all my DMs. I somehow have 2.1 million followers on all the social medias, but I'm still always going to be answering DMs and interacting with people and providing value. So shoot me a DM on Instagram. You should get to them within a day or two, and be glad to help you out or answering questions you have, or point you in whatever direction.
Thank you very much, man. So this is it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, man. And I'll see you later.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate you, and we are super grateful about being part of your journey of becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur and having it all. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will be impacted positively. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be across all areas. And if you thought this episode was really valuable, share it on your social media as a post or a story. We have a special gift for all of those who contribute to the Modern Kings and Queens movement. So for those of you who decided to share this episode and help us spread our message, send me a message letting me know on any social media platform at Alex Ramirez, the Modern King. I have a special surprise for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.